bang for our buck, for better words. In relation to the comments about sales tax is to pay for this. Sales tax is not and never will pay for Island Transit. Okay, currently we've got about 60% of Island Transit is funded by our 0.9% sales tax, period. So the grants are gone, the days of grants are gone. We're going to have to find ways to supplement our own funding. That's advertising, that is fares, that's the people that are actually using the service helping to pay for it. I concur with the Orca, and I personally don't see where it's going to take that much time. I would like to see it be some sort of automated effort. That's where the study is going to come in handy for us. This is a request for proposals that you're proposing, right? It's not going to cost us anything to offer a request for proposals, correct? So we're looking to see what it's going to cost us to have a study made. We're not spending money today, just so the public knows that. And I like the analogy about all the people going to the ferry. The bus is loaded going from Oak Harbor to the ferry. They're getting on the ferry. And if those people can afford to pay for the ferry ride, they can afford to pay for the ride to get to the ferry. It shouldn't be on the burden of the taxpayers only.
Thank you. You have 30 seconds.
On fare collection process system, item number 2. We were talking about review current and future regional collection systems or and cost benefits of each. I would be interested, and I don't know if this would be the appropriate time at the RFP stage or later on when we gain more information, but I would be interested in knowing the possibility of, if we went on an ORCA system, of having the administration of those systems, if that's what we chose to do, happen in a larger county as well, where we maybe paid the indirect fee rather than having to staff up to provide all of the backroom and technology services. If technology is needed to run these programs, it would be more cost effective to partner with Skagit or Snohomish or someone else. And so I'd be curious to know if that's feasible, what the benefits or pros and cons of that would be, and I don't know if that would be at this RFP stage or not, but I don't know that we need to duplicate our collection and admin on them.
Skagit isn't part of it.
All right, so maybe,
They have a similar automated system, but it's not connected to ORCA.
okay. So and I don't know if it's just the ORCA. I mean, I really don't know a lot about these fare collection systems. My thought would just be if we could, pay a county 10% to do the work, it may be more cost effective than to duplicate all of the back end.
Sure.
I don't know. And then I am supportive of this. I'm somewhat concerned about a $50,000 price tag. That seems extensive, although there's identify funding sources for total fare collection system. So my assumption is then that this individual will also be going out there and writing grants and trying to identify how we're going to pay for it. Is that what we're including, or are they just making a statement like grants are available?
That's certainly something we can include.
Well,
It wasn't intended.
Okay, so I just want to get the most work for our money.
Right.
I'm not going to die over it. I just want to get the most work for our money. And then in terms of the value of doing a fare system study and why it's valuable, I agree with Councilwoman Henderson that I think it's better to know what we want to do it right, do it well the first time. The other thing that I'm really interested in understanding is that I've heard repeatedly that these fare systems don't pay for themselves. Instinctually, that's hard to understand because every other transit system in the state has a fare collection. So if it didn't make good business sense, it seems like we wouldn't be the only one with the free system. So I'm really interested in seeing this analysis done because there is a lot of thought in the community about the value of a fare system. Does it pay for itself? Does it not? And I think an objective look at that will be really important as we go out and start the community conversation. So we're talking based on facts and knowledge and not just based on what we've all been told over the years.
You can after everybody else has had it.
All the other systems are already charged, already done this study at some point. Why you don't need to repeat it necessarily, but take advantage of the systems that are in place and use some of the information that they have, scheduled, whatever. They all charge, how'd they get there? Rather than repeat the effort, or reinvent the wheel, use somebody else's wheel to start our wheel.
Anything further?
Well, I'm in favor of public fair system.
Ready to finish? Yeah, Mr. Norton?
Okay, just briefly, I hate speaking last because everybody's touched on, I just crossed out things, but I think the public comments were excellent and the board comments were excellent. I agree it's a system that needs to come about here. The fare box nationwide, 20 to 22% at best, that's what it covers. But I think as I said, they have to work, all the systems in an area need to work together. That was the initial thought behind Orca. And one of the board members mentioned the ferry, and that plays well together, because if you're going to have the Orca card, you're on the bus, you're getting on the ferry, nobody needs to whip out their wallet. So there's much to be looked at, but I think the key to it is that we take this gently, that we don't rush it, because that's when mistakes happen. There'll be great further ideas on the study and whatnot, but that's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, and this is, Mr. Norton just touched on when he said 20 to 22%, whatever. Prior management here had done studies and was very firmly set on a fare-free system. And so in the course of the studies and the reports that were put out to the public, it made the implication, and they kept using the term, you only get 10%, or you only get like 10 cents on a dollar, or if it costs you 90 cents to collect 10 cents, it costs you 80 cents to collect 20 cents. That is a misconception. What they're saying is if you get a 20% recovery rate, the plan of it is your fare that you're charging is to cover 20% of the cost of what it costs you to do business per year. For example, it costs Island Transit $12 million a year. That's our budget. Okay. If we're shooting for a 20% recovery rate, right now we serve approximately 1.2 million riders per year. At $2 a ride, we would get our 20% recovery rate, because we would bring in $2.4 million that would come in the revenue stream. That is what they mean by, so you adjust your fare to go for a recovery rate, it's not that it costs you 90 cents to collect a dollar. Okay? So there were some misconceptions and misinformation, and I would say probably intentionally floated around the public. Make it look like it costs you money to collect the fare, and that is far from the truth. Once it costs you money to initially set up the system, but over the term, over the long haul, you're making a recovery rate. Some of the studies that I've seen out there, you've got some systems that are getting a 40, 45, 50% recovery rate, depending on what they charge. But on, Mr. Norton was correct, on average, you're looking at around 20%, which is pretty good comparative. If we could bring in an additional $2.4 million worth of revenue into here, we wouldn't be having this conversation about cutting revenue or trying to get Saturday service.
I'm going to comment on that topic. We had a report, and it was about 2 months ago, that showed the gross fares collected matched against the cost of operation for something like 30 or 40 transit districts. It was quite a large number of people comparing this to. And I went through and looked at those. Most of them averaged about 10 or 12% of their gross operating costs in recovery. Seattle, I think, was something like 25 or 26%. So I think it's ambitious to think that we are going to, it's actually speculative to say that we are going to collect 20%, at least based on those numbers that were given to us. And this was comparing
That was the statewide
The
survey.
statewide survey, that's correct, and I tried to pick out communities that were rural communities as opposed to the metropolitan communities. The metropolitan communities have a higher ridership, and they had a higher recovery than the rural communities. And the rural communities was about 10 or 12, and I counted, I think, three communities that were fare-free, and they were very small. I just remember one was Union Gap in Eastern Washington was fare-free, and there's a couple others that are very small. We are not very small, we're small, but we are rural and spread out. It creates problems for us. And I look at it as a supplement to our revenue stream and not as as the main, obviously the main source. Now, I don't want to spend 90 cents to collect 10 cents. I mean, that's going backwards. But that's why I think we have to have this study. And I would entertain a motion to go forward with the request for proposal 03-15, but included in that, I would really like to see, Mr. Allen had a good suggestion. Could we possibly get a copy of the boilerplate of studies that Skagit provided, or Whatcom, something like that? They have something in their archives, hopefully, that's fairly reasonable, that gives us a comparative source for comparing to even what the rate study was going to cost. I think in order to make this thing, move on, I don't want to kick this can down the road. I want to start some action now.
Mr. Chairman, I really kind of embarrassed to make this comment, but I've attempted to get Skagit's study about the last 3 months. And for whatever reason, it's not being released to me.
Maybe they don't have one.
No, they did do one. But they went from 3 to, now they're $1. They did a study. I don't know if it was internal or if they had consultants with it.
What about Whatcom?
Well, public records requested.
Yeah.
They
Good
can't,
point.
they can't
Good
get
point.
it.
I will continue to try to get Skagit's, but I think Skagit is the best example for us to match. But at the same time, I want to caution that every transit system operates in a different environment.
Different demographics for the road.
And I think Skagit probably comes the closest of any in terms of the size and the demographics and so on. But Island County is unique. It has its own unique characteristics too, so we need to take that into account. But I did want to offer, for any action that's taken, that possibly you cap the amount of the project. I don't know, 25, 30, 35,000, maybe put a cap on it and see what kind of quality we can get for X number of dollars.
Okay. Then I would entertain first of all, before we go to the motion, can we just give a directive to the staff, to you, to talk to Skagit about sharing that report and say, please don't make us do a public records request. I think they'll get the message that we're going to get it one way or the other. Make it easy, okay? And let's see if we can't get that within 30 days. Okay? At least before our next meeting. Then I would entertain a motion to direct staff to proceed with the request for proposal 03-15, and also I think we need to have a date in which we want to have these proposals submitted to us. You have question marks in this.
How soon do you think you can get it out?
I can get it out probably by the end of next week. Still a lot of boilerplate to add to it. I mean, boilerplate, but there's a lot of it. first.
You need to give people at least, what, 6 weeks? That's what we usually do.
Yeah, about 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks.
How about before our July meeting?
To get proposals
To
back.
Get them back
Oh,
No, that,
before our July.
right.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time to,
Okay.
yeah.
for a firm to get the information they need from the locale. and-
That's just for the RFP. This is not for the study.
So you just want to see a finalized RFP?
I want an RFP. That's what this is about.
Yeah, I said I could get it out by the end of next week.
Yeah.
Right.
So we want a respondent coming back within a
About
short
2
period
months.
of time. Yeah,
About 2 months.
so that gets us to the end of July.
What you say?
Our meeting in July is at the end
I
of
would,
July.
I would like to shoot for the workshop in August.
Somebody make a motion, let's move this
I gotta
on.
make a date for August 10. I would make a motion that, for a request for proposal 03-15, fair structure and fair collection study with a proposal submission deadline of August 10th, 2015 at 3 p.m. not to exceed $30,000.
Probably before August, so you could have the, if you want to have it available, the workshop, you want to have the submission date sometime before August.
Change it higher before.
By or before August 10th, 2015 at 3 p.m. not to exceed $30,000.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Johnson for request for proposal of 03-15 fair structure and fair collection study. Proposal submission deadline by or before August 10th, 2015, and in the amount not to exceed $30,000. The second by Mr. Hanold. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Call for the question. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Carried unanimously, so we have a direction to the staff to continue with the fair study and move along. Next business item is the paratransit improvement plan update.
Yes. Dee, would you like to-
Dee Wells, I work in the paratransit department, and you heard from me last month with some cost-saving suggestions for the paratransit department. So the staff is coming to you today with proposals for your consideration. The first proposal is to do early recertifications of eligibility. In January, new applicants, we started using the FTA recommended assessment process for conditional eligibility. So we are asking for approval to do early recertifications for existing riders so that everyone has gone through the same eligibility process. So we're asking for permission to do that. The second proposal is to no longer serve beyond the 3/4 of a mile ADA guidelines for paratransit. We have been doing that on a time and space availability, going beyond the 3/4 mile. So staff is proposing that we no longer do that. We stay within the 3/4 miles of the ADA. If these are approved, we are proposing that the paratransit user guide be updated to reflect these two changes, and that we go ahead and do a reprint on that, which would also allow us to make the changes regarding the loss of Saturday service.
User guide update, is that what you said?
Yes.
And, let's see, can you tell us approximately what that will save in terms of cost? And do you do a cost analysis with your proposal?
For the early recertification, it would be a matter of how many fall within conditions that would allow them to ride the fixed route rather than taking a paratrip. So that is kind of an unknown.
Okay.
We don't really know what that would be. You have to think that if we do conditionally certify people, there is going to be some savings there. Trips won't be taken, but I can't quantify how much that would be. No longer going out of bounds. Paul can probably give you a per mile figure of what para costs. you know, depending how far we're going out of bounds for these people. It costs more for some than others. We also lose money when we go out of bounds and get there and the trip isn't taken at all. They're either no showing or they're telling us they don't need it. So there would be savings there. Again, how much, I don't have a figure to give you.
Thank you very much. Public comment then at this time. Are there any comments from the public regarding this topic? Yes, Ms.
For the user guide, unless it's different than what's online, because the online, under the paratransit section, used to say what it's supposed to. You go within the 3-mile corridor of a fixed route, et cetera, et cetera. And that was changed a couple months ago to say something along the lines of, however, newer clients that are certified now need to come inbounds. But the wording online has changed around so much, it's incredible. But the bottom line is that it does go back to the 3/4 mile corridor. You just need to get rid of that new client little bit, because it should be all hands, general public and paratransit.
Good comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll close the public comment period and we'll start with Mr. Norton. And we'll work for Mr. Norton to Ms. Henderson.
The young lady spoke regarding what the issues are, and I think that's correct. Don't have any other thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Alley. Okay. Jocelyn.
How many?
Thank you, Mr. Handel.
Jeff.
I pick on her all the time.
How many individuals are we serving right now outside of the 3/4 mile radius?
I have identified 42 people that would then now be considered out of bounds. Half of those have not ridden in the last year, so the effect to them would be minimal. There are some people that ride occasionally. Looking at my numbers, there are probably 5 people that would be highly impacted by not being able to be served from their actual residence. They would have the option to come inbounds to catch the ride there.
And of those individuals, and I'm guessing that this might be the 5, but I'm not sure, how many of these folks who are out of the 3/4 mile radius were being previously served before routes were changed?
Yes, all of them.
So they all originally had service based on the existing transit fixed line routes?
Yes. Well, no, let me take that back. There are 2 people here that, for whatever reason, it's before my time, have always been serviced when though technically they have been out of bounds.
I'm with you on number 1, I'm struggling a little bit with number 2, and number 3, I'm fine with reprinting, but we might need to think through our full-colored glossy use of things in these, because we're doing a lot of reprinting, and so if we're gonna do something interim, we might wanna, I mean, I love the brand, it looks nice, but we might wanna dial down our professionalism just a little bit.
That's part of my internal directive.
Oh, it is, well, there you go, you don't even need me, don't comment.
Are you finished?
Yep.
Thank you. Mr. Manager.
I have no problem with early recertification for eligibility. I mean, I don't even know that we need well, maybe you do need a proposal and a motion on it, but it sounds to me like you're just doing your job. I too have an issue with the second proposal, no longer out of bounds. Simply because if there's only, especially the numbers you're talking, there's only a few people. And when, I think if it's somebody that we're going out of bounds for, and it's for a reasonable, you know, yeah, if it's for a reasonable, you know, people are having difficulty getting where they need to go or whatever, I think that morally that we're kind of obligated to help certain individuals. So if they've already been getting the service and it's not costing us that much, it would be nice if we could have a cost analysis and say, well, this is exactly how much we'd save, and if it's really minimal, I don't see personally any harm in continuing to serve people. Just let new people know that this is where we're going to go unless you meet the criteria for it. You know, you can't what Jill said. Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, I agree with both of them. I'm a little heartburned just cutting some people off, not sort of knowing their stories, but if it's for medical reasons or something really important in their lives, man, I have a lot of heartburn with just cutting them off. But I'm fine with the early recertification. I would like to, I guess, continue with this. You've said sort of 5 people would be really highly impacted. Grandfather them in or something.
Say something like, let's use the common sense rule.
Yeah. Is that, I know that's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
I mean, I
is-
know,
has-
I'd like to say, could we do it a case by case, but I know that puts you in a really tough position.
Any further comment? Okay, I have a comment about that. Since we have 3 items here, we'll take action on 3 different proposals, the early certification issue, and then the 3/4 mile radius issue, and then the update on the user guide. I support the early recertification of eligibility. The traps that I think we get into and no service beyond 3/4 mile of a fixed route is that you're setting a precedence for a small number of people, and where do you cut that off? And it's not just a small number of people, you have an exception to your policy, so the policy will apply to some people but not others. We're supposed to be providing service, but we're also supposed to be fair and neutral and treat everybody equally. The user guide update would really fall in line with what our policies are on items number 1 and 2. Nobody wants to cut service out from somebody who really, really needs that service. But when it comes to enforcing policy, you have to have a standard, and where do you draw the line? So with that, I would entertain a motion. Okay. You got another 30 seconds.
I just want to kind of brainstorm an idea, and can you tell me if it's feasible or not? It won't offend you. You can just say that's, no, happens to me all the time. So could you, for those 42 people that are currently being served who are out of the 3/4 mile, is it legal, possible, if the board's willingness was there, to say we won't accept any new clients outside of the 3/4 miles area, and for the people who are currently being served, we'll do it for one year from the date of adoption, and at the end of that year, and that gives them a time period to know that this is coming to an end. It also gives us time period to look at our stabilization and see where we're at, if we're going to make any route changes that might be able to accommodate more of these people. But could we, is it possible to put a time frame that lets them know you have a year?
Going above what we have to do is all our decision. We can do whatever we want. If we're going beyond what the ADA requires, it's our call. So we couldn't tell them, you know, you have another year for this, and we'll see where we are.
Because I agree with Mr. Umberg that it's important that we are fair and consistent and have a policy so that you're not having to say no to some people while they're seeing their neighbor get picked up. So I think if we can just clearly state that we're not accepting new paratransit clients outside the 3/4 mile radius, and those existing ones have a certain period of time for service, and that they know that that will be ending at a certain point. I think that that may be the most compassionate way of going about achieving fairness in the long run.
December 31, 2015, as you were.
December 31, okay.
Well, that could come up in a motion. We'll wait for the motion for the timing.
Well, I'd like to get it agreed on so my motion doesn't fail.
I was gonna say, if we're adding a year and
Sorry.
we look at the way our fiscal budget goes, this goes from,
We're on the calendar?
Yeah, we're on the calendar.
We're on the calendar.
Okay, so it really isn't gonna make that big of an impact. So let's say this is what we're, May 22nd, so we're coming into June. I would make that, when you word the motion, saying to approve the no longer going out of bounds, but we would grandfather anybody that is currently there until June 30th of 2016. That gives you a year. Yeah, that gives you a year. Because it's May, it'll probably get to June.
You know,
That's 6 months.
I'm with whatever the board wants to do on that. It just seems from a policy, accounting, budgeting, and all that kind of stuff, our fiscal year is calendar year, and giving people 6 months lead time is probably the same as giving them a year.
I would guess many of the people, once they know there's a timeline, hopefully they'll start trying to find
Yeah.
other options. So but I like the year, sorry. Rick?
Hey, it's all about the motion, whoever makes the motion.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion. We done? I'm going to make a motion that we allow the paratransit to do early recertifications for eligibility.
Second?
We have a motion to have staff prepare early recertification for eligibility. There's a second from Ms. Henderson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Aye.
Aye. Yes, whatever. Those opposed, same sign. Hearing none, it carries unanimously. Item number 2.
I'd like to make a proposal that the paratransit program no longer pick up out of bounds passengers
For new customers.
for new customers, and those that are already getting picked up out of bounds be grandfathered in until June 30th of the year 2016.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion to no service beyond the 3/4 mile radius from a fixed route for new clients, and for those who are currently being served, their benefit for service be extended, to expire on June 30th, 2016.
Can I make a
I
comment?
think I made that.
You gotta make a second first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did second.
Yeah, she seconded,
Okay.
so I was repeating
Right.
the motion. The motion is now on the table. Is there further discussion?
Yes, I just wanted to mention that Dee and I have met a couple of times, and we're planning to, sometime this summer, early fall, bring together social service agencies, physicians, and, people that use the paratransit a lot. And this would be a good thing to put on that agenda, because they may be able to, a lot of these organizations may be able to come up with some ideas on how they can help the people that they're serving that fall into this category, help pay. So that, we were talking about why would we bring this group together, and I think that might be a really good reason.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, then I will call for the question. Those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, it carries unanimously.
Okay,
The
that's
next
the,
motion will be for updating the user guide.
I so move.
Second.
We've got a motion from Mr.